Last week we showed you some Indy cars and how they're restored.
But this week we found a treasure trove of some really exotic cars.
We sure have. We're going to continue the theme to show you some of these exotic cars and again how they restore them. All that and more coming up next on Griot's Garage Treasures. Well, in keeping with the theme of being in these race shops, we're here in Avon, Indiana, where we are at a restoration shop where they have some real classic cars like this Porsche 962. But they not only maintain them and race them, but they also do a lot of restoration here as well. And we've got Greg Elliff here, who is the owner and the guy that does all the work here.
Oh, thanks for coming out today. I appreciate you guys coming and seeing some of the great customer cars that we look at.
Well, this is awesome. You know, the 917 was a winning Porsche, and this is the next evolution. Bigger and faster and stuff. You got stuff all over the shop here. You know, Davey, I see a Formula car over there. I just got to go look at it. Will you show me that one?
Certainly will.
All right, well, while you guys are off doing that, I'm going to show the folks this 962. This is 1980 version. Now, we've had a Kremer Porsche on the show before, but this is their 962. This was driven in Europe, also raced in Japan quite a bit, run at Nürburgring, won at Thruxton. Pretty impressive car here. A couple of things that's unique about it, you'll notice it's a large car, pretty well spread out, an aluminum chassis on it. It's got a 3-liter 6-cylinder engine. It's twin turbocharged.
The engine is a second generation 962 engine. The original motors were all air-cooled with 2 valves per cylinder. With a single turbo, they probably put out around 600 horsepower. And Porsche, on their constant engine development program, developed a 4-valve per cylinder head and then very cleverly developed a water-cooled cylinder head. This raised the horsepower to about 750 horsepower.
This car will top out somewhere around 225 mile an hour, like on the Mulsanne Straight.
That car was driven in Europe by James Weaver, Joe Gardner, several other drivers, and then it was sold in Japan. A very successful car, both in Europe and Japan, and then it later was sold to the United States and has been racing in historic and vintage racing in the States ever since.
The thing about this car that's kind of unique is, unlike just a pure race car like we've seen in the past, this one actually has a key that you use to start it.
Porsche was very good at using known quantities of things that worked. They've used that ignition key in their 911 since 1966 and had hundreds of thousands of miles on it, so that was a proven part that they put in the car and knew it reliably worked through the whole life of a race car, which would maybe be 10 or 15,000 miles.
Also, if you notice right here on the top, got 2 lights right here and here. What they use these for is at night when they're racing, this will help them identify their particular car, because if you see these cars coming at you with their bright headlights, it's hard to distinguish one from another. This way you can tell whether it's your car or not. Go up here in the front, you can see it's got a lot of aerodynamics on it, and the air flows around the car. Got the coolers here on the side. This is where your radiators for your coolant system is. And then, of course, you get back here to the back. It's got a 5-speed transmission in it, and it's synchroed as well. Something unusual to have for these cars. But these 962s were a winning model. They won a lot of races during their time. Very, very potent race car.
You know, this is a beautiful specimen. I'm not an expert in these cars, but this is obviously the Federal Engineering Special number 10. This is a Gerhardt chassis. This car has been totally restored. And I know a little bit about the history of this car. It started its life with a 4-cam Ford, which is what it's got in it now, naturally aspirated. But after the 1968 Indianapolis season, they put an Offie in it,
Turbocharged Offie.
Now, why'd they do that?
The Turbo Offie had been coming on the scene and it had another 200-300 horsepower. So at Indy, it's very important to have similar horsepower or you're way down on straightaway speed.
That's amazing, because this big 4-cam V8 puts out 550, and you're telling me you got 7+ out of it Offie?
700, 800. Some years even they'd run them up to 1,000 for a few laps.
Wow. It's all done. You've been campaigning. Who's driven this car?
The owner is Jeff Irwin, and he drives occasionally. We once in a while get a guest driver, which we were lucky enough to have Parnelli Jones drive it at the Speedway last year. And
oh, cool.
He rung it pretty hard. He asked us for a couple top top gear when he got done with it.
I see another one of these Gerhard tubs. It's down to raw aluminum. That's like a 65.
Yes.
That what you do? You take them down to nothing when you restore them?
Start with a car and totally disassemble it, strip it down to all the paint, strip it down to the bare tub so we can inspect the integrity of the chassis, fix any problems from the ground up, magnaflux and crack check all the suspension and rebuild or make new if the suspension is marginal or damaged or rusted, because you can't go to Napa and buy any parts nowadays.
They're as close to new as you can humanly get. So we got a lot of great stuff here. We got more to show you here in Griot's Garage Treasures. Got to take a quick break. Don't go away because there's a lot to see.
Griot's Garage Treasures is being brought to you by Griot's Car Care for the Perfectionist, and by ARP, the world leader in fastener technology, and by Advance Auto Parts. Service is our best part.
Welcome back to Griot's Garage Treasures. Well, folks, what I'm looking at right now, this is called a Spice, and you gotta love a name like Spice. The Spice chassis were built in England, 95, 96, that era.
Spice was a very versatile car. They built basically 3 different configurations. One that would race in Europe in the Group C series at Le Mans, closed cockpit for GTP, which raced in IMSA, and then IMSA changed the rules in 95 to stimulate some new growth in the series and probably stop the dominance of the 962, so they changed the rules that the cockpit had to be open and they no longer allowed ground effects on the car. It was a flat bottom car, so less downforce and a little less expensive car to run and develop.
In this particular case, it's an open cockpit, which they ran as a World Sports Car Challenge. This car's got a lot of history. It's been at Daytona, 1995, 1996, 97, ran Daytona 24 hours and Sebring both those years. Had a variety of drivers in it. Derek Bell, Dorsey Schroeder, Elliott Forbes Robinson is another one who's driven this car. So it's had some pretty good shoes in the cockpit for here. But we got the front of the car off so you can take a look at what it looks like in here. A lot of people don't get a chance to see this. Got an all aluminum chassis in here. Got an aluminum radiator. This is a CNR radiator. Right here you can see the brake master cylinders and the reservoirs here. Got a hydraulic clutch cylinder. Pretty simple to operate, but this is the stopping part right here. This is what makes this a real road race car. Look at the size of these rotors here. And if you notice, you've got heat sensitive paint. And the reason they do that is because once these rotors get up to different temperatures, this paint can change colors. Depending on the color or which paint changes, they can determine how hot that rotor has gotten. A good way to monitor what kind of heat you're generating. And obviously it's got these huge Brembo brakes on it. Gives it a lot of real stopping power. You'll hear this, a lot of guys talk about an air duct for the brakes. Well, here you can see exactly what it looks like. And they have the upper control arm is all machined out of billet aluminum. If you notice here, the shock absorber, the coil over, is mounted here on the chassis as opposed to down here on the suspension. The reason for that is it allows you to have less unsprung weight out here.
What they also were accomplishing there was putting a rocker and a push rod in the assembly so they could change the ratio or geometry from linear rate to rising rate, which was a much more sophisticated suspension geometry and gave them better grip, different track variations like rough tracks. They could run a softer spring and still keep control of the car.
If we walk back through here, you can see the business end. Got a lot of support, a lot of safety built into it around the cockpit with all these crash bars. And you can get a variety of engines in it. This one has an Oldsmobile in it, but if you want a Ferrari or a Chevy or a Ford or whatever you wanted, you could order it and have it put in there.
Oldsmobile was sponsoring a lot of racing at that time, and they were fortunate to get the nod from Oldsmobile to develop a pushrod V8 for the WSC series. They were one of the fortunate ones that had a major GM sponsorship on their engines.
Pretty nice car. They were very successful, very popular during that time.
Here's another awesome piece. This is a car that was driven by John Andretti. It's a 1991 Lola. It's a T9100. It's an Indy car. It's awesome.
91 Lola was at a point in time when technology was really advancing. The ground effects were starting to really increase the downforce. You'd probably get in a high downforce configuration 3,000 pounds of downforce with that car. So you could actually run it inverted on the ceiling if you could get it up there. Electronics were starting to progress where it had two computers on the car, and one was a data acquisition computer that would actually transmit the information, the car suspension, the temperatures, the RPM to the pit so the engineers could watch it while it was on the track.
If you look at this car, the way it's in pieces, this is the front tub. Driver's compartment, front suspension, all the way up here, fuel cells, and then you got this bulkhead. Now, this car has already been restored. There's over 600-700 hours in restoring this car, and they're campaigning it. They're driving it in vintage races and having a blast with it, which is what the car is designed to do. What they have here is a brand new engine. This engine's going in, the old engine's sitting there on the bench, timed out. Time to take that and overhaul it.
This was about the fourth year that the Chevrolet A engine had been developed to directly compete against the Cosworth DFX. Elmore Engineering had done the design for Chevrolet, and the engine has started developing probably 50 or 60 more horsepower, 20 to 30 pounds lighter. It stepped up the game where Cosworth had to develop a whole brand new engine to keep up.
You got your front section of the car, you've got your engine, and then there you've got the rear section, the third part, which is your transaxle, rear suspension, brakes. And it's real interesting because when this all bolts together, everything becomes a member and makes this car together. If you look down here real close, we got two 7/16 diameter studs. They must be made of some really super material because the engine slides on that, bolts on that. A couple of brackets come off here in the top, and that's all that holds that engine in. And then the transaxle bolts to it. This all becomes one rigid member. This car just runs and runs and runs down the track. Real fast, handles real good. It's got a good thorough pedigree of people that drove it. They're having fun with it now. And this is another restoration. This car, when it's all put back together, looks like brand new.
With more than 22 years of experience, Griot's Garage is car care for the perfectionist. Whether you're cleaning a daily driver or perfecting the paint on your dream car, Griot's Garage makes a full line of products to suit all your car care needs. From paint and upholstery to wheels and tires, leather and carpet, glass and chrome. Car care liquids made in the USA and backed by our promise. We make it, we teach it, we guarantee it. Have fun in your garage at griotsgarage.com.
Welcome back to Griot's Garage Treasures. Well, if you've ever followed the Indy 500, you know the name Roger Penske, and you also know the name Rick Mears. Well, this is the very first car that Rick Mears drove for Roger Penske. This is a PC-6 chassis, the #1 chassis. Rick did a lot of development work on it, and this is the car he ran in the Indy 500 1978, his rookie year. He also finished as co-rookie of the year that year. This is a stressed member. You can see it's got a Cosworth engine in it and Hewland transmission.
That was an early Cosworth DFX turboed engine that was a low compression engine. They ran a very large turbo and much more boost pressure than they do in the later years in the 80s and 90s. So that motor probably put out close to 800 horsepower with a lot of boost, but the cars didn't go around the corners very well, so they were probably just under 200 miles an hour. Later cars with 750 horsepower reaching 228, 230 miles an hour because they're going around the corners and entering the straightaway a lot quicker. The minimum weight was 1,550 pounds, less fuel.
This car is under restoration right now. As you can see, it's not all together, but this is kind of a rare one, especially when you get a Penske chassis #1. Rick went on to great success, and Sam's got another one of Rick's cars.
You know, Davey's right. Rick Mears had a great career. You know, a lot of good drivers drove this car. This is a 1982 Penske PC-10. This is chassis #3.
The 82 PC-10 was about third or fourth year of ground effects coming into play. The car actually weighs exactly the same. All that large side pods underneath are actually open, and the wing structure underneath, it looks like the rear wing, but a longer version of it for the air to pass through it, and that created the downforce.
In 1982, Kevin Cogan drove this car. Rick Mears won this car. In fact, Rick had 2 wins, Atlanta and Phoenix, and this is the car that he won the kart championship in 1982. You can see, by the way, it's a beautiful restoration. Doesn't even have dust on it. They actually campaigned this car. It's in here for a fresh set of tires, a little tweaking, powered by a turbocharged Cosworth.
That engine was also a Cosworth DFX, but it was a later motor where they started reducing how much boost pressure they could run. So there was always a give and take on compression and horsepower and how much boost. So they'd raise the compression, run more boost, and come up with almost the same horsepower, not quite as much. But back in the day, they were using that open engine cover design to get rid of the heat because the turbo is glowing red on full boost. So there's a tremendous amount of heat that can melt the bodywork and lines. So it was a good way to aspirate all the heat.
This is a beautiful automobile and done well by these guys. I mean, it's a great restoration. But this is the car, if you'll remember, that Kevin Cogan crashed in the Indy 500 before the flag fell, took out A.J. Foyt, took out Mario Andretti, made a lot of people unhappy because he didn't finish the race. But this is an awesome specimen. In fact, if I could throw some tires on and put it in the ground, I don't think I could fit my chubby little butt in here, but I'd love to shoot this around the track. Stay with us, we got a lot more. We're gonna take a quick break right here at Griot's Garage Treasures.
Griot's Garage Treasures is being brought to you by Griot's Car Care for the Perfectionist. And by Advance Auto Parts. Service is our best part. And by Centerline Wheels. Design fused with technology.
With more than 22 years of experience, Griot's Garage is car care for the perfectionist. Whether you're cleaning a daily driver or perfecting the paint on your dream car, Griot's Garage makes a full line of products to suit all your car care needs. From paint and upholstery to wheels and tires, leather and carpet, glass and chrome. Car care liquids made in the USA and backed by our promise. We make it, we teach it, we guarantee it. Have fun in your garage at griotsgarage.com.
Welcome back to Griot's Garage Treasures. And when I'm talking about treasures, you don't get much more of a treasure than a Formula One car.
Formula One cars were basically a ultimate development of technology in that time frame and that day. They didn't have a lot of rules to restrict downforce. They had tire size and basic width and a few safety requirements for roll bars. But whatever was in between, the front to the rear, was all up to the designer of the teams. And so there was a lot of open playbook on what you could achieve with your engineers and your expertise.
This is the Dn9 Shadow, and this car ran in 1979. The drivers were Jan Lammers and Hans Stuck. Wasn't a highly successful car, but it did run. The designer was a fellow by the name of Don Nichols, who built these cars. You can see here with the body off of it, you can get a good look at what they really look like. Had inboard coilover shocks on here, rocker arm front suspension on this. Fairly simple, basic layout for Formula One cars. It had a roll bar here in the front. This was a titanium, and as well as the one up here is a titanium, something you don't see very often. In the past, we've done some Formula One cars like the Ferraris, for instance, that Michael Schumacher drove, and you take the steering wheel, it was like about $100,000 steering wheel. Well, you can see back in 1979, not much of a difference here on this. All it had for technology was a push button here so the driver could talk to the crew. That's about all there was. So that steering wheel didn't cost you a lot of money. If you go on back through here, you can see they did use a fair amount of aero back in those days. The air came through the side here up through our radiator. This is how they cooled it. The fuel tank was located right here, right between the driver and the engine. This was to help protect it in the case of a crash. It gave it a lot more protection. And of course, they used all the space they can on this. This is the oil tank for this particular car. It had a Ford Cosworth engine in here, and what that was is Ford actually funded the development and design these engines by Cosworth.
Engines would put out about 480 to 500 horsepower. They were a 3-liter engine, normally aspirated with a timed Lucas fuel injection on gasoline. Most everybody ran the Cosworth motors except a few of the large teams like Alfa Romeo and Ferrari would build their own engines, but that was the engine of choice for most all the teams.
Now, if you come back here, you'll notice the Hewland transaxle. This was a 5-speed, but the thing that I always like here is, again, they run dual brake calipers. These are inboard brakes. Gives this car a lot of stopping power.
In the 70s, AP was the major supplier of brakes for the Formula One cars, and they developed this system they ran for several years called a balanced braking system, where they had a front and rear caliper so it counteracted the torque put into the suspension, theoretically keep the suspension freer for movement going over bumps and turns. They later went to a one caliper system and larger brakes, and it didn't seem to be that much advantage.
The Shadow. Sounds interesting. Didn't do too much, but it was an interesting car to watch.
Griot's Garage wants you to have fun in your garage. Now, here's your car care tip of the week with Richard Griot.
Hi. This week to have fun in your garage, we're going to talk about having perfectly clean and clear glass. Getting windows crystal clear is a breeze with our alcohol-based window cleaner and uniquely designed window cloths and tools. Begin by spraying window cleaner directly onto your cleaning cloth of choice. This conserves the product and avoids overspray. Our disposable lint-free towels are made of polypropylene and don't contain glues, so they won't leave behind any residue. Or try our reusable microfiber window cloths with their tight weave that grips the window for ultra-clean, streak-free windows. Use a saturated cloth to wipe your window and remove dirt, smudges, and any other residue. Then finish by buffing the window dry with a separate dry cloth. Our alcohol-based cleaner evaporates residue to prevent hazing and streaks. Our window cleaner is also ammonia-free, so it is safe for tinted windows. We also have an entirely new glass cleaner. This is an aerosol that foams on contact, allowing the cleaner to stay on the glass surface as it works to loosen dirt, oil, and grime. It is ammonia-free, and unlike typical aerosols, there are no CFCs that deplete the ozone. All you need to do is a light mist to get the job done. For perfectly clean windows and other issues, we have 3 other products you may be interested in. Our glass sealant, our fine glass polish, and our glass polish will take care of any other issues for haze-free, perfectly clear glass.
This is an awesome race car, 95 Lola. This is a Gallus racing car. Now this car is powered by a Mercedes Ilmor V8. It's turbocharged, but they really stepped this one up. These cars would turn 14,000 RPM. And of course in 1995, this was run in kart by the team drivers, Greco and Fernandez. But you know, then there was a split. They formed the IRL. In 1996, this became an IRL car. Davy Jones drove this in his first ever Indy 500. He started second and he finished second. That's pretty awesome.
That's not a bad deal if you can start and finish and not lose any positions.
At the Indy 500 with the best in the world, absolutely.
Was good too.
And then he campaigned this car the rest of the season for Gallus Racing in IRL and did a great job with it.
He sure did. I'll tell you what, I don't know about you, Sam, but I have had a great time going through Greg's garage and seeing all these cars. Brings back a lot of memories for me.
It's been fun in the garage and also a great learning experience. I hope you enjoyed it.
I hope so too. Well, we've run out of time. We'll see you again next time here at Griot's Garage Treasures. Remember, have fun in your garage just like Sam and I do.
That's right. See ya. This is nice.